Hello, my name's Kate Mason and I am running as the candidate for the Informed Medical Options Party for the seat of Robertson. My background is in the community services welfare sector, working in many roles, both government and non-government. In my later career, I specialised in community development. When vaccine mandates were introduced into many industries, I, like many others, were unable to be silent. The reason I'm running is because I believe that the Labor-Liberal gridlock is no longer working for the Australian people, and it's time for new voices in Parliament. We need to send a clear message at the next election that it is time for our health, our families, and our communities to be the top priority for those who represent us. The majority of the current politicians either dismiss people raising concerns about COVID-19 measures as being idiotic, or more disturbingly, a terrorist threat. We're called anti-vaxxers or right-wing extremists. We have a right to have our concerns listened to, our questions answered, and to be treated with dignity and respect. Instead, we are being mocked, dehumanised, and harmed. The brutality unleashed on the Australian people who have stood up, who have needed to protest to have our voices heard, has been distressing. At the rallies are everyday Australians who don't like what Australia is becoming, who can't recognise the country we love and identify with, and who are deeply concerned for the health and safety of their children and the future generations. I've asked people why they stood up at great personal cost, and the reasons include inability to give informed consent, private medical concerns and vulnerabilities, concern about the creation of two-tiered society, having adverse reactions from the vaccine, concerns about government overreach and loss of democracy, distrust of global corporate powers. I spoke up as my career was about supporting the most vulnerable members of our community, and I saw firsthand that government COVID-19 measures were affecting people negatively, creating trauma and divide, and I couldn't in any good conscience be silent. There are now many studies outlining the long-term harms created by lockdowns. People who have spoken up have been punished heavily. They've lost careers, income, reputation. They've been segregated from the community and in many cases lost relationships with family and friends. The current state of affairs is a mess. We need a change and time is of the essence. We know what we get with the Labor, Greens, Liberal, Nationals gridlock. They are no longer serving or listening to millions of distressed Australians. As an Informed Medical Options Party candidate, I stand for health, democracy, and robust communities, including voluntary vaccinations, which are not linked to coercive or mandatory tactics, establishing independent testing on all vaccines used in Australia, independent environmental impact review of all government-approved environmental toxins, supporting and nurturing communities to grow and flourish with a deep respect for Indigenous truths and knowledge, government truth and transparency, and the disclosure of all conflicts of interest, a constitutional bill of rights to protect our human rights and freedoms, to support small business, community banks, cash transactions, and the limiting of foreign ownership, to put people before corporate interests. Vote 1 for Kate Mason, representing the IMOParty in the seat of Robertson.